The following episode of Talk Law Radio is being rebroadcast in loving memory of Karen Marquardt.
Order in the court. Be seated.
It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, Apple Podcasts, and TalkLawRadio.com. I'm Todd Marquardt, your host. Attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm are sponsoring our show today, and attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, tax-protected inheritance plans, new businesses, and old businesses, which might have issues with corporations, contracts, LLCs, FLPs, and we can represent those who are facing problems from lack of planning, like guardianships and probate. And our new attorneys, Daniel Palmer, Alex Vollmer, and me can advocate for you in a courtroom trial, if needed. The State Bar of Texas is the state agency that governs attorney law licenses, and the State Bar wants attorneys to inform the public about the law. But because legal advice must be tailored to the specific circumstances of each case, and because laws are ever-changing, material discussed in this program is meant for general informational purposes only, and is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Although the information has been gathered from sources believed to be reliable, please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Before we get started talking about the law, let's begin with prayer. Dear God, thank you for this day and for all the gifts and blessings that you give to us. Please forgive us for our sins, our mistakes, for doing the wrong thing and failing to do your will. Please help Karen and me give good information to the listeners about legacy. Help us to use the gifts and talents you have provided for the good of your people, for our own good, and for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Now it's time to discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. Today on our show, I am honored to introduce a retired civil servant, a full-time granny of 8, a mother of 4 successful adult children, and the #1 fan of Talk Law Radio, my mom, Karen Marquardt. My mom is on Talk Law Radio today because I realized how interesting her career in government as a civil servant was. To share her experience as a caregiver for her mother and my Mamaw so that caregivers know that they are not alone. Finally, and as always, we'll talk about legacy. Before we get started talking to Karen about her education and work experience, let's take a quick break. Welcome back to Talk Law Radio with your host, Todd Marquardt, on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. If you're just joining us, I'm honored to introduce a retired civil servant, full-time granny of 8, mother of 4 successful adult children, and the #1 fan of Talk Law Radio, my mom, Karen Marquardt.
Good morning, Todd. I'm excited and thankful to be here with you this morning.
I'm honored to have you. Let's get started talking about your life. Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born and raised in Clovis, New Mexico. I lived there my whole life until my dad got us out of the Air Force and got a civil service job with White Sands.
The missile range, right?
Right.
And so you moved to Alamogordo?
And so we moved to Alamogordo. Now, those were the days when if your husband, you did whatever your husband wanted you to do, and so he got this job outside of Alamogordo, so there was no questioning that we would move to Alamogordo. Now, I had a hard time leaving because all my friends that I grew up with, and I had a boyfriend.
That was your senior year, right? That you started at Alamogordo?
Yes, we moved here the summer of '66.
Okay.
In Alamogordo.
And but Alamogordo has an Air Force base there too, right?
Right, Cannon Air Force Base.
Cannon was in Clovis.
Right.
Holloman's in Alamogordo.
Right.
Okay, but you moved to Alamogordo for Gran, your dad, to work as a civil servant at White Sands Missile Range.
Yes.
Okay. And then you graduated from high school and got married and started a family. Let's fast forward to some of your work experience. Tell us about one of your first jobs.
One of my first jobs was I worked at J.C. Penney's, and it was located in downtown Alamogordo, and then there were some family issues, and so I quit. Then I went to work at the Desert Air, and when I left there, I was assistant manager. I loved working at the Desert Air.
That was a hotel, right?
Mm-hmm. And then after that, I worked with my husband in an optical company for many years. And later on, I started to go back to college at NMSUA, New Mexico State University, Alamogordo, and was able to get my degree, Bachelor of Science, from Las Cruces eventually.
Right, in social psychology, right?
Yes.
What interested you about that subject?
Well, they always say that people that get their degree in psychology are trying to figure themselves out. But I was just real interested in it, and I hope to go into social work to help women help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the original intent.
Oh, good. And you eventually did that by starting work at the Older American Center.
Yes, yes. I loved working at the Older American Center with the seniors, and it was just a lot of fun to be there. I helped them with filling out forms, and I did a lot of the artwork that was on the bulletin boards, and
you did the monthly newsletter.
I'm sorry?
You did the newsletter, right?
Oh, yes. I did the senior newsletter, and that would be funny to all of your listeners because what I did, I had to type on the typewriter the different information, like what they were going to have to eat for lunch that week, what the activities were, and just general knowledge of all activities. Now, this had to be typed separately because it had to be cut and pasted to like a big white piece of bulletin paper. And then I would take it to the printer, and they would reduce the size and then print the newsletter from that, and then it would be handed out.
So you really did cut and paste.
Oh yes, it was a lot. It was a lot of work.
And some of the events that you organized for the seniors, what were they?
Well, I organized and helped with the senior prom, and the senior prom is where all the seniors would go. They loved to get out and dance, and a king and queen would be crowned, and the king and queen would be two individuals that gave a lot to the American Center. And
oh, okay. So it was more to honor them for their service.
Yes.
Not just because they were the most popular.
Correct.
Okay, if you're just joining us, this is Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt, and I'm interviewing my mom today because I realized how interesting her career in government as a civil servant was, and she wanted to share her experience as a caregiver so that other givers know that they're not alone in that journey. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the work that she's done at the Holloman Air Force Base near Alamogordo, New Mexico. But if you missed part of the episode, you can always catch us on Apple Podcasts, or you can stream off of www.talklawradio.com, or you can stream live on 930amtheanswer.com. This episode's recorded, so you'll find us next Saturday, coming up in just a few days. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
New to San Antonio? If you move from out of state, your estate plan may not be aligned with Texas laws. Did you know 41 states treat property ownership differently than Texas? Protect your assets and loved ones. As a newcomer to Texas, it's essential to review your estate plan with an experienced attorney. Marquardt Law Firm is here to help. Chat with us online at marquardtlawfirm.com to schedule a consultation. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio with your host, Todd Marquardt. We're here helping you discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. And if you're just joining us, you should know that I'm introducing a retired civil servant, full-time granny of 8, mother of 4 successful adult children, and the number one fan of Talk Law Radio, my mom, Karen Marquardt. We were just talking about your history with the Older American Center, and we're going to be talking about your experience with your work at Holloman Air Force Base.
Okay, great.
So tell us, how did you get interested in that job opening?
Well, I was living in Las Cruces with my 2 youngest sons taking classes at New Mexico State University. And my daughter was really good friends with this young lady named Nicole. And Nicole told Christy that I should apply for a position out at Holloman for the stealth program. Her mother was a big instigator of that, and got me the interview and everything. So I was actually one of the first people that was hired in Alamogordo for this program. And at the time, it was called CAE Link. So it was a government contract that they had with the Air Force.
You probably really didn't know about the stealth aircraft at that point.
Oh, no.
Because it was a secret.
I had no idea. I was just in awe. I was just so excited. I was so thankful. Oh, my gosh. It was going to be a wonderful job. I first started out as administrative assistant, and then I moved up and did the computer-based training graphic art, which included interactive computer programming between the computer and the pilots.
So this was the training the stealth pilots. It was a training program department, right?
Oh, exactly. And they couldn't fly the stealth until they had this program finished. And at the same time, while they were attending classes all day, they also had to go to a different building, and the government had a simulator. And so they would have to learn to fly the simulator and pass all these tests before they could fly the stealth.
And something that was unique about the simulator was it was sort of like an exact replica of the cockpit.
Oh, exactly. Everything. And I tried my best at that simulator, but I kept crashing.
I guess they wanted you to know what it was like for the
Right.
training.
Right, wanted to experience it.
So something else you did was programming.
Yes, I did all the programming for the computer to ask the pilot the questions.
Okay.
And that's how the interactive between the computer and the pilot came to be.
Okay. That's so interesting. And you did that for a few years. What were some of the highlights of working in that department, in that program?
The highlights, I would just say, number one was just being part of a group that was helping the government with the plane, the stealth. I was just so proud to be there and so excited. And
during that time, it was a big secret.
Well, see, the stealth came from Tonopah, Nevada, and nobody knew anything about the stealth. And so some of those UFO sightings were the stealth practicing their flying.
Uh-huh.
But no, I had an in-depth secret clearance, and even just to get into the building, you had to be cleared.
That's great. Okay, so we're here with my mom, Karen Marquardt, on Talk Law Radio. She's been telling us about her experience working as a civil servant at Holloman Air Force Base with training stealth pilots. Next, I want to talk to you about your experience as a social worker. Tell us about how you got started doing that.
Well, when I was still at Holloman, where the stealth was, I was looking into other jobs that included about helping people. That was the original idea when I went back to college, was some sort of social work to help women help themselves. So I had a job interview with Health and Human Services in Alamogordo from the state of New Mexico. And I was hired as a caseworker. And when clients would come in, they would apply for food stamps and Medicaid and Medicare and cash assistance. So my principal job was to verify their information and to help them as much as I could.
And do you remember clients that came in that didn't understand the program that you helped and they thanked you for it?
There was, well, I have to tell you this story right quick. There was this lady, and she had quite a few children, and her husband was a truck driver, and so when you're a truck driver, you have so many receipts. I mean, just off-the-wall receipts for this and that. And I helped her get Medicaid for her children, and helped her get some food stamps. And she was so thankful. One holiday season, she brought me a homemade pecan pie.
I love pecan pie.
And she would bring two of her daughters, and they just loved me, and I just, tried to help them with everything I could.
That's a great story. That shows the good work you did for them. Okay, well, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about a new adventure that my mom, Karen Marquardt, had working as a civil servant back in New Mexico. Before we break, I just want to mention that you can listen to all of my past episodes of Talk Law Radio by going to Apple Podcasts. Look for my smiling face. You can search for the words Talk Law Radio and click on my photo there, and then you'll see a list of episodes. This episode we're doing with Karen is number 64, so you can learn all about estate planning, financial planning, tax planning, and the legal ramifications of all of that just listen to those past episodes. And you can also find me on www.talklawradio.com. You can find the episodes there as well. If you don't have an Apple device, you can go on the internet and find me on www.talklawradio.com. Okay, so we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Talk Law Radio with your host, Todd Marquardt. I am interviewing my mom, Karen Marquardt, because I realized how interesting her career in government as a civil servant was, and she wanted to share her experience as a caregiver so that other caregivers know they're not alone. We just finished talking about her time working with the Stealth at Holloman Air Force Base in their training department. And now I'd like to find out what your next adventure was at Holloman.
Well, you're right. My next adventure, my goodness. I got a job with Air Force Housing, and the company that was managing base housing was Shenega Management. And my position there was a housing referral consultant. I was to help the military personnel find housing, whether it be rental or buying, in the community, because not everybody wanted to live in base housing. So the Air Force commander wanted to know, have a market analysis to determine the requirements for personnel at Holloman Air Force Base. So I worked directly with the Air Force.
With the commander, right?
Yes. And so my work with this market analysis was a big achievement. The Air Force had a big write-up in their little newspaper called The Sunburst, rewarding me.
You were awarded the Commander's Coin.
Yes, yes. That's a very, very special award, and it was given to me directly from the commander for the work that I did on this housing project.
Because they needed that information to present to Congress, maybe, so that they could get additional money for housing.
Right. Well, they didn't want their military personnel moving into any kind of unsub living conditions. So all the apartment complexes and the homes that were for rent or for sale, I had to go look at before I could suggest them to the Air Force.
Yeah, to check it out.
Yes, yes.
To make sure that it was going to be up to par.
Yes.
Good. That was important work you did for them. Did you run into any satisfied military personnel that appreciated your work in finding them housing?
Yes, I did. I had a lot of the military families stay in touch. They would come by the office, sometimes just to say hello and say how they were doing. And then they would come back to see me if the husband or the wife was getting transferred and they needed to sell this home. So then I tried to market that home for sale so they could get on with being transferred to another place.
That sounds so rewarding. Okay. Well, before we move on to your next adventure, Let's take a quick break.
New to San Antonio? If you move from out of state, your estate plan may not be aligned with Texas laws. Did you know 41 states treat property ownership differently than Texas? Protect your assets and loved ones. As a newcomer to Texas, it's essential to review your estate plan with an experienced attorney. Marquardt Law Firm is here to help. Chat with us online at marquardtlawfirm.com to schedule a consultation. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio with your host, Todd Marquardt. I'm here with my mom, Karen Marquardt, talking about her adventures in working as a social worker and as a civil servant. After you moved on from working with base housing at Holloman Air Force Base, you worked as a caregiver for your mom and my grandmother. But before we get to the details of that, it probably all started way back when. We got to give them some history about Grand's service in Korea.
Oh, yes. He was a very proud man, and but he would never brag on himself. But he, to begin with, when he was younger, he joined the Army, and that's where he went to Korea. And it was a horrible time over there for him. I can't remember how many years he was over there, but in one specific episode, his best friend that was standing not far from him got blown up, and so my dad ended up with a lot of shrapnel in his legs and arms, which the medical community could never get rid of that shrapnel. So he was on a small disability later in life, not right then. So after this happened with his best friend, my dad was going to go back to college. His dream was to be an architect, and he had a nervous breakdown over his best friend dying right in front of him. So he was unable to complete a college education. So then what he did was he joined the Air Force, and he spent some time up in Alaska, and for some reason then he got transferred to Cannon Air Force Base in Clovis, and he finished his Air Force career in Clovis. And then that's when he applied for civil service out at White Sands Missile Range.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. He was going to work out there until he retired, and that's when they found out he had pancreatic cancer.
Yes, he could be so stubborn. He would never tell you if he was in pain. Or a funny thing is that Mexican food could not be hot enough for him. He would never admit that was too hot. But
so he did discover that it was pancreatic cancer.
Oh, yes. So his back, he was just having a lot of pain and problems with his back. And so my mother took him to this surgeon in Alamogordo. It didn't show up on the x-rays back in 1992. And so Dr. O'Brien said he was just going to open him up and see what was going on. And when he did, Dr. O'Brien said that he had a cancerous tumor the size of a football in his body. So he just closed him right back up. And at that time, I was living in Las Cruces. The boys and I came right quickly to Alamogordo to see him. And he lived 1 week, and the boys and I were there at that time.
Yeah, he passed away. He was only 60 years old.
Right. My mother always regretted that he didn't get to retire.
Yeah.
She was planning a retirement party for him, in fact.
Yeah, Mamaw always told me how hard they worked. And so she was always looking forward to retirement.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so that serves as a good background to what happened next after Gran passed away, and Mamaw was quite lonely, wasn't she?
Yes, she was very lonely, and even while she was still working before she retired, she just depended on me for everything. And at that time is when I was working out at Holloman. And then she retired in 1995. And with her working her whole life in retirement, she did not know what to do with herself. And my sister and I encouraged her to volunteer, to call her friends.
She did bowling, right?
And she did do bowling, and she got some trophies for her bowling.
But she never really recovered from losing her husband. She was so devastated.
Oh, it was just unbelievable. I mean, she was absolutely lost. She just couldn't function.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that about Gran and Mamaw's history. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will talk about your role as a caregiver and Mamaw's legacy for you and your legacy to your family. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Talk Law Radio with your host, Todd Marquardt. This is our legacy segment, and because my mom's here with me, I'm going to ask her about her mom's legacy and about her legacy, and then because Marquardt Law Firm focuses on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans, I'll talk a little bit about what the minimum standard of care is for estate planning for lawyers to provide and what a recommended estate plan would look like. So, Mom, you just finished talking about the struggles that your mom and dad, my Mamaw and Gran, went through as they were retiring. Let's talk about how you got started helping Mamaw, being her caregiver. You had moved to San Antonio following your last adventure so that you could watch your grandchildren grow up, and then you had to move back to take care of her. Will you say something about that?
Yes. When Todd moved to San Antonio to go to law school, and his brother, Tyrone, came to San Antonio. So all my grandchildren were in San Antonio. So I wanted to be with my family, and Tyrone would just call me and just beg me to move to San Antonio. So I sold my home and moved to San Antonio. And while I was in San Antonio, I did some substitute teaching, but the main reason that I was there was to help my boys with their families, with their children while they worked. And So I babysat their kids and tried my best to take care of each family.
But then Mamaw needed some more help.
Yes. Then my mother, she kept getting worse with her memory. My sister and I met in Alamogordo with my mother at their neurologist, and so then the neurologist talked about her dementia, that she was getting dementia, and it was unsafe for her to be by herself. Well, my sister, she said that she just wanted to put her in a home, that she didn't want to have to deal with it. And one thing my mother told me my whole life is that she never wanted to be put in a home.
And she didn't just tell you that, she told everybody that.
Yeah. And so when my sister wasn't going to do anything to help out, and so I moved back to Alamogordo to take care of my mother. At that time, she wasn't very bad with dementia, but I did live with her in Alamogordo for several years. But once again, I missed my San Antonio family and convinced my mother that we all needed to be together as a family. And so she sold her home, and we packed me up and her up and moved to San Antonio and bought a nice home. And so I made possible for all her doctor visits and started to care for her personal and emotional needs more and more every day.
What I remember about her fear of Alzheimer's was sometime during the 90s, there were lots of news stories about nursing homes, like on 2020 and Dateline and 60 Minutes. Do you remember those shows?
Well, I do, but this was even before, she just made me promise that I would never do that. And I was the oldest child, and so I was always trying to do for my mother. I loved her very much, and I wanted to fulfill my duties as a daughter to take care of her when she went through Alzheimer's.
I'm glad you brought that up, because her experience and your experience in caring for her, along with my dad's mom, my grandmommy, led me to the field of elder law, because I was so interested in taking care of that older person. And in law school, I learned that there was this field of practice where lawyers helped arrange things so that everything was in order for the older person. So in my studies, I ran across this legal scholar named William Blackstone. He was alive way back in 1836 in England, and he compiled commentaries on the laws of England into books. Now, you have to remember that most of the law back then was just put together by judges in court cases, and so for him to put these commentaries together in books separated by subject matter was a big task. So this summarizes some of my philosophy and the practice of elder law. He said, quote, "There is a moral responsibility, even higher than the legal, for children to help their needy parents. The duties of children to their parents arise from a principle of natural justice and retribution. For those who gave us existence, we naturally owe subjection and obedience during our minority, and honor and reverence ever after." They who protected the weakness of our infancy are entitled to our protection in the infirmity of their age. They who by sustenance and education have enabled their offspring to prosper ought in return to be supported by that offspring in case they stand in need of assistance. So that's the legacy that I've already learned, even while
That's awesome.
all of you were still alive. And so after we take a quick break, we're going to talk about some family heirlooms that you've received that were meaningful to you and some family heirlooms that you'd like to pass along. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Talk Law Radio with your host, Todd Marquardt. I'm here with my mom, and we've been talking about her parents, her mom and dad, my mamaw and gran. And so now we've come to the point where we want to talk about family heirlooms and legacy. So, Mom, will you share with us how you would like to be remembered?
Well, I have thought about it, and the most important things to me that I would want my children and grandchildren to remember, that I was a Christian and loved my Lord and Savior. Also, I love my children and grandchildren unconditionally, and I want them to love each other unconditionally. I loved my mother with all my heart, and I wasn't a perfect daughter, but I tried my very best to take care of her. I love crafts, crocheting, sewing, reading, scrapbooking. No one would be able to believe the number of boxes of scrapbooks that I have in storage, and some of my children have in storage.
Yeah, these are professional books of photos and memories.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, tell us about a unique family heirloom that you received.
When my mother was still living at home, my granny and grandpa bought her a bedroom set. Then when she got married, they gave her that bedroom set. Then when she decided that she wanted a new bedroom set, she gave me that bedroom set. So I've had this bedroom set since I was in the 7th grade. I was always very proud and loved that bedroom set. I never wanted to change it or leave it. And it has traveled far and wide with me as I have moved numerous times.
And what else did you get from your granny?
Well, the other thing that I have that I always wanted was my granny's rocking chair and stool. It's from the 1900s, 1920s, and I always wanted that rocking chair and that little stool. And then my mother always said that I could have that rocking chair and stool.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Before we leave, I do want to say some things about the law. You're probably wondering, how do I leave a legacy? Doesn't my spouse automatically inherit from me? Don't my children automatically inherit from me? Well, the way to leave a legacy in peace for the family without chaos and conflict is at a minimum to have a valid last will and testament. If you don't have a valid last will and testament, the state of Texas has one written for you in the Texas Estates Code. That means a judge will determine who the rightful heir is based on your marital status at the time of death and by hearing testimony from disinterested witnesses about whether you have biological children from multiple relationships. Wait, there's more. After the judge decides who is entitled as an heir, an administrator of the estate, also known as the personal representative or the executor, must pay the bills, wrap up your affairs, and distribute whatever's left by transferring legal title to the assets from the probate estate as the owner to the individually named beneficiaries as heirs. It's much better, less expensive, and less time-consuming to administer an estate when there's a valid last will and testament. Okay, so that wraps up our time on the radio today. Hope you had a good time.
Oh, I really had a wonderful time. I just want to say my oldest son's name is Philip, and his wife Kirsten, and their son James, and my daughter and her family in Denver, Hank, Christy, Lauren, and Kyle. And then, of course, Todd and his family live here, and Tyrone and his family live here.
Well, thank you for joining us. Is there anything else you want to say about your children?
Well, I'm so proud of my son that you've been listening to today. I just think he is A1. I'm so proud of him.
#1 fan of Talk Law Radio. See you next time. Thanks.